Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. Today I'm sitting down with Paul, the CEO of Pavia, who are building a metaverse on Cardano. Some people who are around a good while now in Cardano will remember Pavia from a while back at this stage, a big land mint. And today we're going to find out what's been happening with Pavia and where they are now. So Paul, very welcome. Thanks for taking the time to come on.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, great. Look, so we'll jump straight in. Who are you? And then we'll get into who Pavia or what Pavia is.
Okay, fantastic. So briefly, I'm Paul, the now CEO of Pavia. I've been in the games industry for about 9 years. I've been in tech my whole career. Spent some time working in game infrastructure, so servers basically for large games like Call of Duty, Apex Legends and all that stuff. Ultimately, that company was sold to Unity, the game engine company. So I spent 4 years at Unity working on game services and game infrastructure. So it's all the magic that happens in the background that connects multiplayer games, makes them work. And then I left Unity to do another startup. And I bumped into some guys who were busy minting land on a blockchain called Cardano. That was around Pavia. That was probably around October, November 21, that kind of time. And I joined the team around Land Mint 2 in, I think it was around November. And then there was a third Land Mint for Pavia in, I think, February, March the following year. So it's basically 3. And ultimately, Pavia is a virtual world made of 100,000 plots of NFT land. So that's me. That's how I joined the project. And for the last 2 years, we've just been head down building an enormous amount of tech to get this thing off the ground.
Okay, great. So I suppose I was in either the first or second land sale. I picked up a few land plots, haven't done anything with them since. So for anyone who hasn't heard of Pavia, you touched on bits of it there, but people hear it's a metaverse and don't really know what that means. And I think even myself at times, there's different projects called a metaverse, but what specifically is Pavia, or is it going to be?
So Pavia, metaverse, as you quite rightly say, is an overused word, but I continue to use it, which is fine because we're big believers that the evolution of the internet will be 3D, not entirely, but it'll be a big part of it. A lot of the technology that's been driving games for many, many years is actually going to drive social experiences and all sorts of stuff in the future. And we're also big believers in digital property rights and digital ownership on the blockchain. So Pavia is heavily focused on the user-generated content side of things. So we are big believers that in our project, at least 95% of everything that's going to happen in this world will be built by our users, not by us. So we focus heavily on building metaverse creation tools that enable people to build very cool 3D models and interactive experiences with very, very little experience, if any at all. So that's one of our focuses. And then the other heavy focus is working on the social side of things. So we already have things like voice and text chat and emoji chat and group voice and basically everything you'd get in WhatsApp, but inside a game experience, that's already working. And so we're heavily focused on that. But the dream really is just to, and anybody working in the metaverse space, if they're honest, this is the truth, is we're all trying to figure out what resonates with people. But the passion for us is making sure that the users create these experiences, not necessarily the studio. So we're heavily focused on that. The dream is that people are coming into Pavia and running the 3D equivalent, interactive equivalent of Twitter Spaces. People are launching their own IP, building their own content out, much like people do on platforms like YouTube and Discord and so on today. They'll actually have a platform in 3D that they could do that stuff as well.
Okay, so potentially some of our interviews in the future could be within Pavia, where we could be up on stage talking and having the interview in there.
Yeah, 100%. That's totally what we do. In fact, we as a team, we have half of our meetings inside Pavia rather than on Google Meet or Zoom. So we do that all the time. But the dream is laying the foundations for this kind of tech is a massive lift. It's a heavy lift to get both the creation tools and then all of the technology in place to be able to do this, because a lot of the existing experiences you might be familiar with, like Roblox and maybe Sandbox and things like that as well, is They tend to be isolated experiences. They're very good, you know, they're phenomenal platforms, but you go into an experience, then you come out, and you go into someone else's experience and you go out. Whereas the thing that we really wanted to do was to make sure that there was only one single world, and if you're in it, you're in it, and everybody's content is together as neighbors. So this poses a real technical challenge, because what it means is, unlike most normal video games where you download everything onto your PC or your Xbox, whatever, 95% of what Pavia is lives up in the cloud, because it's generated by the users and it's changing on a daily basis. So actually, the real technical challenge is bringing all of that content into a world, but the world's still feeling like it's immersive. We do this all the time with YouTube videos and Netflix and web content. We're constantly streaming from the cloud. That's a very different thing to streaming real-time interactive 3D. So that's one of the big challenges. But we really wanted for the graphical quality to be higher, so it felt immersive. So we've been building out all the tech for that for a couple of years, as well as we'll talk about Pavia Studio, the creation tools.
Yeah, I'll get you to, I know you have some stuff ready to show. I'll get you to show that in a minute. And as well, just because sometimes recording like this, just for people watching, the quality mightn't fully come through on this. So I'm going to try and record a few minutes at the end of me running through it, and I'll tag it on to the end of this video. And just what you say there about getting everyone into the one server, it's definitely something I've heard mentioned before, that it's not an easy task. And I know my kids are mad about Roblox, and I have to have time limits on their tablets that they can only play certain amounts of time and stuff like this. And it's like, they're always on about, oh, they're in my server and they shouldn't be in my server, and they want to be in separate servers with their friends, and sometimes they want to be in the one. And so being able to get it all into one, definitely, if you get the numbers that you want to get, becomes very difficult, I'd say.
For sure, yeah. I mean, server tech, and not to bore your listeners, but I mean, that's been my life for the last 9 years in terms of game servers. And it's challenging enough, but when you're dealing with session-based servers or battle royale games or that kind of thing, battle royale is like 100 players in, and then it decreases over time. But at the end of the day, what's behind the scenes is a physical or virtual machine. But when you have session-based games, 4v4, 5v5, they have a start, they have an end. It's hard, but it's solvable. Where the problem comes is when you want to put 5,000-10,000 people in a single world at the same time, and you're actually then, way beyond the capability of any single server. You're out across many servers. There's ping, there's latency, there's different parts of the world to deal with. And also it's an exponential problem. The more players that come in, the more and more bandwidth you're having to use. So it's a very, very complicated thing to do. So at the moment, we're using very traditional game server. We'll talk about the playground in a minute, but there's a server there and you can join that. We probably get 300 or 400 people in that. But actually, we've got some stuff which I'll report back on in a few weeks' time, which is us preparing for able to get thousands of people in at the same time. So
okay, sounds good. I suppose if you want to bring up your screen and give a look for people who mightn't have seen it yet, and this is available for anybody to go in and download and jump in and walk around, have a play with it, or even the studio builder that you'll show. People can come in. Anybody can come in and build. Do they have to pay to build within the metaverse, or?
No. So at the moment, you can, and I'll share screen in a second, but essentially, because both of these products that we have at the moment are in open beta, so they're all in beta, they're still being developed live with our community. And in fact, that's a decision we made a few months ago, particularly with what we call the playground. So Pavia is 100,000 plot map, so it's absolutely enormous. It takes a long time to build out the tech to drive this kind of stuff. But what we decided a few months ago was actually we take our internal development environment, which is just a very simple 100 plots, and put that public. And the reason for that is all our community that supported the project so far get to come in and it's live 24/7. It's a permanently live world. They can come in and see what we've built so far, so they can actually see the progress of the project. And then there's a massive benefit to us as well, because we get tons and tons of feedback from the community about things that they like, things they'd like to see, things that aren't working, bug reports, all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of like it felt like a bit of a bold step actually to build entirely publicly with all the, the bugs and the warts and the bits that don't work. but actually it's proven to be a really, really good move because it's helped us develop things in different ways. So we lovingly call that the playground. That's live now, and I'll show you in a second. And then we'll move on to maybe a bit about Pavia Studio. So yeah, I can screen share if you want.
Yep.
Cool.
There we go.
So this thing here that I'm just moving about, this we call the launcher. So if you go on our website, pavia.io, just follow the links and you'll be able to download the launcher. This is for PC only at the moment. Mac will come in the future. And then the launcher is the hub of everything. This is where you log into your Pavia account. This is where you download applications, launch applications. It self-patches itself. So every time we do a new release of either the launcher or the applications within it, it takes care of it. So if for anybody who's used to using, Steam or Battle.net or anything like that, they'll be familiar with this kind of idea. So the launcher, if you click on all apps, you'll see we have Playground and Studio ready to go. And either one of them, if I've just clicked on Playground, then you can see some highlights of what we've currently got a cube event, which we talk about in a minute, which is live. So you'll see highlights of what we're up to right now, patch notes and so on and so forth. And then typically you just click play and it launches you into the game. You'll notice at the top here, you've got my account as well. So I'm already logged in, but this is your Pavia account, which lives up in the cloud. So it's a simple login process like anything else, very easy to do. Once you're logged into the launcher, that means you're logged into all of our applications when you launch them. So it's super easy to get in and out. Yeah, so ordinarily you would click play here to go into the playground, but we're going to cheat a little bit today because we are going into not the live version, because the live version has got this crazy cube in it at the moment as part of our mech thing that we've got coming. So it's dark and gloomy and scary. So I thought it would be better to show a different version on this call, which is a bit more light and bright. So it's the dev playground. It says it there. So there's a bunch of temporary stuff. So at the moment, just enter a name. It's temporary. You won't remember it. And then you just go into Pavia. And then what you will see is, I was about to say server select, and it's not there for some reason. There it is. So select the server and continue. I've already created a Ready Player Me account. So Ready Player Me is an avatar solution which is integrated into over 3,000 metaverse projects. So the great thing about Ready Player Me is if you use it, your very same character that you can create can be used in tons of other metaverses as well. So this is me. I don't know why I have this little character with green hair, but I always use him. And in you go. So what's happening right now is the dev environment. You can see there at the top, warning, this is an experimental dev playground. It has limited functionality. And we're just loading some of the user-generated content in the background as we go in. And then you can see the various controls, your PC controls for all the bits and pieces you can do. And there I am. I'm in. So anybody who's familiar with PC games understands the normal controls, W, A, S, and D, and Shift to run. And right mouse button if you want to just scroll around. So what you're seeing here is a public place you've been spawned into. And all of this stuff is controlled by us, these archways and these roads and so on and so forth. But if you look around, you can start to see various plots. And these are entirely generated by the community. So every plot you see here, we have not built. This has come from the Pavia community. And there's all sorts of wonderful things here. So this is entirely loaded from the cloud. So if someone came along, that building I'm looking at in front of me right now, and decided they were going to publish something different, then that building would change and it would be their new home or whatever they've done. Now then, if I come down here, a couple of things. If you hold down H, sorry, this is glitching a bit, probably because we're streaming.
Yeah, it's a lot on one system.
Yeah.
That's why for anyone watching this, I will do the walkthrough after this, where there'll be one less element taken out with the streaming, and it'll come through a lot clearer than this. But I would encourage everyone to go in and take a look at it. It does look really good. I like the idea of users being able to create anything they want in it. and that the tools for that are already available for anyone who wants to get creative.
Yeah, exactly. And I can talk about that in a sec. I was going to show you the pause menu and so on, but because we're streaming, some of my keys aren't working for some reason. I'll just come down here and hopefully you'll be able to see that we've had some fun with the Cardano community already. So right down this, we've got a little seafront as well. So there you go, there's the ocean. And this was a fun thing we did. So there's a house for the Cardano Croc Club right in front of me there, which we built out. And then over there, there's a giant hangout for the Sneck crew with their big snake. And then behind it is this giant estate for Cardano Kids, one of the older projects on Cardano. And that's just like almost like a giant theme park right now. So again, we didn't create any of this stuff. This has all come from the community. And that's what we really, really want to see. That's what that building to my left now is a very prominent community member. So he's built that out. And then anybody familiar with Nido, he's a musician in the Cardano space, amazing musician. That's his house right there. He has a recording studio right at the top. So this is the beauty of it. This is actually the stuff that gets us really excited, is just seeing the creations that people come up with. So yeah, that's the playground. You could do I'd love to show you because we can change the time of day and all that kind of stuff, but for some reason the keys don't want to know because we're on this stream. But
yeah. Oh, no worries. Yeah, people will be able to check it out for themselves too. And there is the studio that's available. I don't know if you want to show that, or we can leave links to it below, whichever you want.
Let's see if we can. So via the launcher again, this is Pavia Studio, just with a couple of test examples. So this is our builder tool. So you can see if I was to go into this scene here, this is the result of many, many months of work. But effectively, this is a builder tool that leverages procedural generation to make building super, super easy. And that's something that we knocked up in probably less than an hour. And then you can just effectively click on here and you can see your creations and walk around them as if you were a player. And this stuff is all ready to be published to the playground. Now then, when we launch the full game, you'll be able to, if your wallet will be connected, and you'll be able to publish your scenes directly to the land that you own. At the moment, because it's just a development playground, then obviously there's no concept of owned land. But what we are starting to do is community members are building content and they're saying, hey, I've built this cool thing, can you just put it in the playground? And behind the scenes, it's just a couple of clicks for us and their content appears in the playground so everybody can enjoy it. So we have that little manual step at the moment. But yeah, Studio is, we could do a whole podcast on that, to be honest with you. It's we're really, really proud of it. It's a cool tool. And within 24 hours of going into open beta, we had the community were building amazing stuff. And these are people with no 3D experience whatsoever. So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got to try and build yet, but I'll definitely have to have a play around with that and see going to build a home for myself in Pavia.
Nice.
But that's kind of where it is now. What's next for Pavia, or when? So this is the playground. Is this going to be continued? This is going to be for another year or more in the test, or what's?
Yeah, I don't envisage it will be that long, actually, because even though it's 100 plots, going from 100 plots to 100,000, it's a leap. It's not as big as it sounds because it's exactly the same tech under the hood. So I certainly won't put a date on when we're going to launch the main map, but actually it's less about launching it. It's more about how you launch it. So metaverses, as you know, they can feel very lonely, empty places, and we're not crazy. We're not going to suddenly have 20,000 people running around in Pavia overnight. We're realistic. So the thing we're more interested in is how we effectively gamify the rollout of that map in a certain way. So it feels like people do congregate in certain areas, or do we build some mechanics in where actually you need to build your way out in order for the map to expand to its 400,000 plots. So I'm really interested in the actual rollout mechanic and what that looks like, because we need to make that fun. And we need to sort of incentivize people to want to get involved and so on. So it doesn't feel like a giant map with no one in it, if that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
suppose right now it is the market right now isn't, although slightly better this morning, but in general the market isn't great. So lots of people have just parked crypto aside. They might have bought early on in the mint, and they mightn't come back into crypto until next year or the year after. So you're struggling with that aspect too, of trying to bring people in and bring back in the people who got involved early on and wanted to know what's going on or what they can do now.
Yeah, and one of the things we're definitely considering, one thing for sure is this is how would I say, we're Web 2 as well as Web 3. So we want to make sure that anybody can come into Pavia and, sorry, I've got my Slack going. Anybody can come into Pavia and explore whether they're in crypto or not. So that's really important to us. And then the other thing about the building tool side of things is we want to be sure that we're not reliant on necessarily landowners to do building, because there'll be people that are really drawn to the idea of creating 3D metaverse content, which aren't necessarily the original landowners of the NFT plots. So you actually have a lot of different personas going on here. And so I think it's really important that actually you can grab all these different people and have something interesting for them to do, whether you're a landowner or not.
Okay, and on that, anybody, just the aspect of, I think gaming metaverses can be a great way to bring new people in and educate them about crypto and what it can be used for. Can anybody come in and use the metaverse or use Pavia and build in it? Or if someone who doesn't own land, is there anywhere they can build?
Yep. So one of the ideas that we're playing with right now is, and this is great because this is the sort of stuff we can discuss with the community, but actually I really like the idea of people coming in and being able to build and maybe even publish on other people's land. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but it's not as mad as it sounds, because the landowner will always have the administrative right to basically go switch that off and go, actually, no, I don't want my land being built on. But I think you're going to end up with a whole ecosystem of creators who are actually creating great content that might not necessarily want to be a landowner, but the landowners are glad they're there because they go, that's the house for me. Just like in the real world, if you have a plot of land, you're generally looking for an architect or someone to come and help you get this thing done, right? And so we're looking at it in a way that whether you have crypto or not, whether you're into NFTs or not, you can come in and get involved.
Okay, I suppose you could have the aspects of being able to rent as well. I know my kids with Roblox are always looking for Robux. Haven't given it to them yet, but they're always looking, oh, I can build this bigger house, or I can do this or that. And them kind of elements, I think, can be brought into crypto as well. To people are, especially kids now, are used to growing up with that, where if they want the bigger and better things within games, they need to use the in-game currency. And that's where the likes of, I think, crypto can come in, and you can, even for people who are landowners, there's potential there, I suppose, for me. If I don't want to build on all the land I have, I can put some up for lease or rent or whatever, and people can come in and build on it then if they pay a small amount of probably your own in-game token as well. But lots.
Yeah, 100%. So that's exactly right. And actually the great thing about, the ecosystem and Cardano and a lot of these lending protocols and so on already being built by other people. So so it's certainly not a big stretch for us to be able to do land rental, that kind of thing. We do have the Pavia token as well, which was actually given away for free, a certain percentage of it anyway, to our landowners way back. So we have work to do that's a utility token. So we have work to do to figure out what's the best use cases for that. We've held back a little bit because in-game economy design is a very difficult thing to do. You can easily mess it up. And economy design, when you have a secondary market that you can't control, is even harder. So we want to get that stuff right. But your Robux example is perfect. Is kids are really, really used to having virtual currency. It's second nature to them. So this isn't a giant leap at all.
Yeah. So what's in the shorter term? What's next for Pavia, or where are you going?
Well, there's kind of like three strands to the bow, if you know what I mean. So we have the metaverse, which I've showed you. We have the content creation tools, Pavia Studio, which I just showed you briefly. And then, not to be left out of the fun, we have content of our own. So we have these little characters called Pavs, again, given away for free to our community for fun. These tiny little kind of four-legged goofy characters as NFTs. But actually that story has evolved into something far more serious for us as a project. So we always had this idea that some of these Pavs would have the capability of piloting like mech suits, because we always wanted to go, right, wouldn't it be cool if you could actually take a Pav and walk around Pavia rather than your Ready Player Me avatar, but actually as a full-blown mech made of digital collectibles. So the big focus, certainly for the next week or two, is we have our mechs coming out, and they are super gorgeous, AAA quality, game ready robots, which are made up of 5 interchangeable NFT parts. So they're a really good digital collectible. So people love to collect digital things and like assemble stuff. So you actually will get a crate on the mint, and the crate can be unboxed a week later, and inside it will be 5 parts, 5 NFT parts: left arm, right arm, torso, legs, and a backpack. And you're guaranteed to get each one of those parts to assemble a finished mech, and that on day 1, that mech will work inside the game. So that's all coming in the next week or two. Those parts, incidentally, are randomly selected, though. So the height is most likely is they will come from different classes and different skin variants. So it'll be a bit of a mismatch. So your job then is to go, all right, cool, this is fun. Which is my favorite mech? Which is my favorite skin? Do I want to try and complete one, finish it, trade it on the secondary market on JPEG Store and so on, and have fun with that? And that will work in the game on day 1. But the configuration tools for the mechs are fully online. So even if you're not in the game, you'll have a full 3D experience where you can configure your mech in browser, which is super cool as well. So what we've been doing over the last few days is releasing a class each day, the visuals of it at least, and the community have responded really, really well. So you have different classes, and then you have different skin variants, and then obviously you have to have a mech compatible Pav character to pilot it in game. And the mint is happening Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, the 25th. And everything people want to know about that will be on the pavs.io website, so pavs.io. So everything's on that website. Okay. And yeah, hopefully people will get involved.
Yeah, I'll leave the link to that one down below. And you were telling me a bit about it before, and the way I see it is people don't have to unbox them either. Sure, that they could keep them unboxed and potentially sell the box later on if they want.
Yeah, they could do if they want to, a bit like people do with Pokemon cards and stuff like that. They can leave it unboxed if they wish. We kind of hope they do unbox them, because that's sort of the point. But also giving people the ability to choose whether they do or don't is kind of part of the fun as well. So It's entirely up to how people do it. There's 5,000 crates, so there's plenty there for people to purchase. Okay,
and if the full 5,000 doesn't sell out, does that mean that there might be a match for parts I get, or how does that go?
Yeah, it's potentially. I mean, we're going to leave the mint open. We're in this for the long term. You know, this is months of work. The quality is really, really high, so they'll sell out at some point, and hopefully quickly. But if not, no worries. We'll leave it open. So there is the potential for you either waiting for a part that's either a crate hasn't been minted or a crate hasn't been opened. But again, that's all part of the fun.
Okay, and anything else kind of that we have? I think we've given especially if people haven't been paying attention, they've hopefully got a good update on what's been happening with Pavia. But anything else that we haven't touched on?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of depth to the builder tool. There's a lot of depth to the project. I think we've just touched on it on the surface, really. But I think the main thing is, you know, we were one of the early projects on Cardano, and I guess we went quiet for a little while because we were just super focused on getting all this stuff built out. But it's really, really lovely over the last couple of months to start sort of re-emerging again and going, right, we've got stuff to show you now. And ever since we put the Dev Playground out, and more recently Pavia Studio, you know, people are going, oh yeah, I remember Pavia. And a lot of them have land and so on and so forth. And yes, we're still here, we're still building. Yeah, it's a big project. I mean, there's companies that monitor all the metaverse projects around the world, you know, like analysis companies and so on. And they've got a pretty keen eye on this particular one. I know that for sure, because we've had feedback from them about the quality of what we're producing. So I think the next 6 months are going to be super interesting.
Okay, yeah, thanks very much for your time today. I definitely seen the theme of that Pavia were gone. say 6-12 months ago, it looked like you weren't going to be around, but it looks to have definitely turned around. And with everything you're putting out, there was work ongoing when we might have thought that we'd seen the last of Pavia. But it's great to see projects continually building, especially ones that were here in the start. There's not all that many left that were building around the time of year land mint and that are still here. There's lots of come and gone and in that time frame. So it's great to see you're there. You have a solid community that's in now testing and building. And I'll leave the links below for anyone else who wants to get involved in the building or testing or anything like that. And maybe we'll do a follow-up in another few months, and maybe that one can be in Pavia itself.
Yes, I'd love to do that. Absolutely. We'll do that next time.
Sounds good. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got some value from this. Please do share it out. Let people know what's going on with Pavia, where they've been, where they are now, and what's coming in the future for them as well. If you're new, subscribe, leave comments with questions or anything below. Do appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.